Good evening. Welcome to Live United. Live United is an opportunity to really learn about things that I caught it.
Sorry, let me, yes.
Yeah.
This,
I thought you, because I saw it go white.
yep. All start. We're gonna keep going on the disc.
Do you want me to do an intro again?
Yep.
Okay.
Do the same thing again.
Good evening. Welcome to Live United. Live United is an opportunity to learn more about all the great services happening here in the Mondanock region that make a difference in the lives of our citizens. Today, we're fortunate to have with us Deb Vaughn. Deb is the director of the Mondanock Community Early Learning Center. So welcome, Deb.
Hello, Kelly.
Thanks for being with us. And, you know, you've been on the show before, and what a great program you're running up there. And it serves a good portion of the Mondanock region. Can you tell us a little bit, folks might want to hear a little bit about the history again, but also where are you serving families and children from?
Well, we're located in Peterborough, New Hampshire, and we've been there for over 40 years, so we're very fortunate to have a real history in the communities itself that we serve. People are surprised to see how big a region that we actually serve. We have some pretty big manufacturing companies in our region, and we have some businesses. And a lot of the people come throughout the Mondanock region to the Peterborough to work and to Jaffrey to work. So we're really fortunate to serve a lot of towns. A lot of people like to come to our center because we really are an early learning center. We're just fortunate enough now. We were able to start our 6-week-old program again. So we are now taking 6-week-old babies, infants, up into 2nd grade or 8 years old. And that is really the true early learning ages. And we also found a need in our community to do that, to take the 6-week-olds. Unfortunately, we were not, a few years ago, we had to cut back the program. And then when we restarted the program again, we were actually able to take children that were 8 months old. But through a community need and people really asking for that infant care, that young infant care, starting in February, we were able to offer the service of 6 weeks old. And we're also trying for part-time and full-time spaces. Part-time spaces, they're pretty unique because there is a cost to having infants that young, but we really feel that to support families in particular, it's really important. Some families don't want to necessarily jump right back into the workforce again, and they want to slowly reintegrate in, especially after having a new child. And we're really fortunate to be able to do that, to offer that service. So people truly come throughout the region.
Wow, that is a wonderful service. You know, my baby's 19 now and home on spring break. But, you know, I think back to when I needed childcare and I was single parenting at the time. And wow, you know, it was tough to find the infant care, number one, and then to really have that part-time available. What a great service. Now, do you currently have openings for those slots there that you have?
Believe it or not, as soon as we announced that we were doing that, we got inundated with, well, we had parents in the center who, you know, they were expecting, you know, their second child, and so they were first come to those slots. And then we've gotten numerous calls throughout. So truly, anyone looking for that, I would say, if you're really looking for that slot, to call now. You know, and we do our best to try and make sure we have availability, and, you know, you're on the waiting list when that happens. And we're really fortunate to be able to, as I said, to offer those services. So.
It's not only a great service, but you're really in a unique position then of offering both that 6-week care all the way to second grade. So when you think about that continuity and that consistency for children, what a great experience. Now for the kids that are a little bit older, do they just come in from school buses at the end of their programs?
We're very fortunate. Both of the local school bus companies in Jaffrey and in Peterborough, because we're right on the border, our center sits right on the Peterborough-Jaffrey border. Both school districts will come to our center before and after school. So we're very fortunate to have that.
So that's really special for parents, too, to not have to worry about how their child's going to be transported after the school hours.
It's true, yeah.
So, you know, something for our citizens definitely to be aware of. Now, are all your programs full all the way up to second grade?
Pretty much. I mean, we're pretty consistent, and we have been for, you know, for years now to have full capacity or near full capacity. So it's just one of those things that we've been really lucky to have. And
you know, I know one of the other abilities that you have, partially through the United Way processes, is to be able to offer tuition assistance to folks that may be struggling to cover those child care costs. Can you talk a little bit about that tuition assistance and also how they can access that from the state level?
we've been looking at the tuition assistance piece. We're very fortunate. We have three kind of ways that you can pay. You can be full pay, which means you pay outright. We also have a sliding fee scale that actually is, United Way helps support that, and our board fundraising and different pieces go into that. But that really entails a couple of things. One, the actual sliding fee scale encompasses falling between a certain income range. So if you fall in between that, then there is a sliding fee piece that we can offer parents. For families and parents that are not able to make the bottom tier of what we call our sliding fee, there is state assistance. And one thing people aren't always aware of is that state assistance is for days that the children are there at the center. But if children aren't there for sickness, something happens in the family, for whatever reason, child cannot be there that day, they don't receive that state assistance. So really that's a piece we're looking at for tuition assistance too, to be able to help those families, because their bill would go up astronomically, because if they're not there, they've paid, all families have paid for the slots that their child is there for. So really we have a cost that we have to cover. And just being able to cover that, that is something that we look at, and we help, families on state. Little ones are sick. I mean, children get sick and they can't necessarily be there. And that can really hurt a parent on their own financially, because if they're working hourly and they have to take off, they may not get paid for that. And on top of that, we want to be careful, because we don't want to have to put our rate that they're not there, their absence, on their bills. So we try very hard to cover that with tuition assistance too, because we don't want to, hurt them in the process of having, becoming more stable and helping them, with their family needs.
So let's talk a little bit about the environment of the Learning Center there. There's been a lot of studies done now about how important it is to prepare children for the future, and that a lot of that really occurs in that early years, from 0 to 5 especially, that a lot of the brain growth, the social development, there's a lot of things that happen that will determine in the future not only their ability academically, but their ability for lifelong success. So let's talk a little bit about the environment you're creating.
Well, I know there's different pieces even statewide that's going on with that. So I know Spark, New Hampshire is big into the early years, along with United Way, who's really gotten into those pieces too, which is really great to have those supports, because it really helps us. Our center is focused on theme-based lesson plans and monthly themes, and we really try to bring everybody together and help them learn through a developmentally appropriate curriculum that children can grow at their own, develop and learn at their own rate. which they feel comfortable at. We try really hard to work with parents. So if there is something that comes up, or there's a little red flag, or something just seems, we talk to parents, and we help them find those services. We're a Strengthening Families program or agency, so that also means that we really try to work with the whole family to find resources that might be needed throughout the community or throughout a school district, or just pieces in general that might be needed to help the family.
And family is so critical to that lifelong success, because if the development's only occurring, during the course of the day in school or in the early childhood setting and not continued at home, it's hard for that to really be sustainable. So let's talk a little bit about Strengthening Families and what you're doing with that. Can you share, first off, I know what it is, but I'm guessing our audience probably doesn't know what it is, and how you work with families with that.
Well, we work with families through different means. We have just things in our center that helps, connect families. We have a family board when they first come in, that they can see things going on, not only in our center, but in the community, in the region at large, resources. If they're, if they need transportation, we have transportation companies that we have brochures on. We have different community, we have in our different resources in our communities that they can, help and have for resources to have on hand. When they come into the building, as I said, teachers try to work very closely with the families. We have parent-teacher conferences throughout the year. We do the ages and stages assessment. We do different pieces to really help them learn about their child and about, as I said, the resources in the communities, and when they need something, we can help them find it. We help to transition the children, into kindergarten. We'll work with, the schools when that piece comes about. We're very fortunate to have a big community support in our area. We have librarians come, and read to the children. Throughout the year, we have the Lions Club just came actually and did an eye screening for us. We're a part of the Tooth Fairy program, so we do a free dental screening once a year. So we really try and, pull in the community support too.
So that's great. Now, with the Strengthening Families piece, do you do any parenting tips, techniques with the parents?
You mean, do we do courses? Or we have we don't necessarily within our center, but we do, like in our newsletter, we'll put pieces into that, of just different tips on parenting tips. We also are fortunate we have the River Center in our community, who's also a United Way agency. They do parenting courses, and as I said, we have, information on, if we don't directly, offer that service, where they can find service in the community.
One of the things I love about the Mondanock region is the collaboration that goes on, and you're really highlighting that here when you're talking about transportation, working with you to bring those services to the families and children. And you have the River Center providing parenting programs. They have an early home support program, they have a parenting program. And when all of those organizations work together, it really creates a whole safety net for both our children and families to receive the services they need. And the Mondanock region is pretty wonderful in that area.
Yeah. And as you know, we are forming a group in the Peterborough-Jaffrey area that really is trying to pull together the agencies, and we're really looking at the transportation and the parenting courses and the different things that we can offer, and how we can really work together to do that.
And I know even that's pulling in the adult care piece, because so many families are extended families now, where you may have a grandparent or a family's parents living alongside the child. And then we also have situations where grandparents are oftentimes taking care of children now.
We're finding that actually a lot right now is, that piece, the grandparent, and trying to help them and support them as they do this kind of again in their life.
And it's funny, they're doing it again in their life, but at the same time, they're in a very different place in their life, physically and emotionally, and so it's a lot different. I have grandchildren, so I know what it's like to, the energy level is quite different than when you were younger and taking care of children.
And that's what we're very fortunate to have, I will say, the funders that we have, because that is a piece that can be rough, especially if you're doing it, as an older parent and there's not a grandparent and there, may not be the resources available or know where to find those resources. So we can really help them, do that piece.
Now, you mentioned the ages and stages, which I'm familiar with. There's a screening tool that you're using and really involving parents in that ages and stages piece. Can you share with our audience a little bit about what that is? It's
an assessment tool that can be used in our center or any center with early childhood. The parents actually take a piece of the assessment home and they fill out a piece as far as what do they see, children can act very differently when they're in school versus when they're home. If you have children, you probably know exactly what I mean. And that piece can be, those are the pieces we look at because nobody's saying it's right or wrong, but how do those pieces meld together? Then the parent comes in with their assessment that they've written. The teacher has the piece that they've looked at, and the parents, that's the real collaboration piece. It's when the parent and the teacher can sit down together and they can look at it and they can say, that's perfectly acceptable. Acts one way here, acts another way there, or is doing this here and not doing that there, or vice versa. And, but as I said, if there's a red flag that comes up, then it can be looked at.
What might be a red flag that someone would see that would lead you to maybe connecting them to another resource?
It could be speech. It could be maybe the parent feels there's issues with hearing. It could be it depends on the developmental level and where they're at developmentally and how old they actually are. But if there is, if they're 4 or 5 and they're still having, trouble hearing, say the parent's really concerned that something just doesn't seem right, we can connect them with services and have their hearing checked out. And as I said, we just had the Lions Club come in and they did an eye screening, so that was really nice too, because parents may not be aware, and if there's a flag that comes up through those screenings, it can be looked at. So.
And I remember my daughter going through those screenings when she was young, and they actually identified that she would probably need glasses they were estimating 3 to 4 years, and they were pretty close. It was about 5 years later that we really needed glasses for.
And sometimes it's hard. You can't ask the little ones necessarily, do you see that? Or because they don't know the letters yet. So, or do you hear that? It's very hard. You think you're hearing things, but they don't have the experience. Or, if you're saying, write your letter, write an A this way, and they don't know what an A is. So, what does that look like? So the adults kind of can help with that and look at those pieces.
So, Deb, you've been doing this for a while, and why is early childhood so important to building a foundation for our kids in their future?
Well, I always look at it, I know the Spark New Hampshire calls it the bedrock, and it really is. If you don't have a strong foundation, it's really hard to grow on. I have some personal experience. I've worked in schools, I've been a school principal. I've seen what happens if that foundation, isn't strong or there's some cracks in it, and that's where there can be some concerns when they get older. And really having that strong piece, not pushing them, just developmentally appropriate piece is really important. For the next, step as they go on, you have to have good socialization skills to work in a group. You have to know, how to come in and out of the group. And, they always say, like, when little kids, start, they do parallel play and then they can move into cooperative play. But what do those pieces look like as they go along the way? Is it really connecting? Are all those pieces connecting as they're doing that? Or when they get into school, do they not know how to get into a group? Do they not know, some of the basics that, are really important today to know how to work together collaboratively?
And it really is important. When I think about young people, I think oftentimes we focus on their educational aspect and how well they're going to do in school. But building this foundational piece really makes a difference in terms of their welfare throughout their life, their economic stability going into the future, and their educational attainment. There's plenty of studies that are showing now that the kids that are ready and well prepared will be the ones that graduate from high school and pursue, whether it's a career or going into higher education, but they're the ones that are better positioned for success. And I know your center's working hard to provide for those families who may struggle to be able to afford sending their child to an early childhood setting. So important. Now you have some upcoming events. You have one I know of in August, because we obviously realize that state funding isn't there completely. Local funding isn't always there completely, so you have to fill in with fundraisers.
We're planning on August 22nd. Our board is doing a Made in New Hampshire event, and it's going to be in Peterborough, and we're hoping to have a variety of local-made wines and beers and cheeses, chocolates. It's really just putting all those pieces that really are made in New Hampshire together and under one venue, and inviting the public to come and share those pieces that make New Hampshire special, and that's what we're looking to do.
So is that an opportunity for people who might produce a product here in New Hampshire, whether it be honey or chocolates or whatever it might be? Can they contact you and offer to be part of that event?
If they'd like to, they're more than welcome. Yes.
Wow, what a great opportunity for our businesses to really both support early childhood services, but also to build a relationship between the two. So perhaps we can notify people of what your website is, your contact information.
Our telephone number is 603-532-6021. We can be found on the web at www.mcelc.org, which stands for the Mondanock Community Early Learning Center. And we're also on Facebook under the Mondanock Community Early Learning Center. So,
And I want to remind the audience that you're located in Peterborough. You can always call 211 and ask for the Mondanock Community Early Learning Center. You can also contact the United Way if you can't remember that. But always going to the website and Googling it is a great way to reach out and contact Deb and other folks up there. So you have the Made in New Hampshire. I almost said Made in Vermont, because you're so used to seeing that advertised. So it's great to hear Made in New Hampshire. I love it. And I'm trying to think of all the great products that are out there that we may be able to get into that event. So neat opportunity for people to get involved. I know there's other opportunities for volunteers, for people to give in different ways.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, we're very fortunate again. As I said, we have some funders. United Way has funded us for several years. Actually, I don't know how far back we go, but I know it's quite a few years before me. So we're very fortunate. We also, as I said, the Lions Club and local service agencies in our area help us with different projects that we've done. We've had donations from the Kiwanis years when we started the infant room back up again with cribs a few years ago. But we're always looking for people that would be able to help us and provide us with resources, whether it be materials or financial or different. We do have different needs. So if anybody's looking to help with early childhood and help us support our mission and our goal, which is really to support all children of any socioeconomic situations. So we really try to work hard with all families regardless of income.
Now I think you do a spring cleanup day too, don't you? Where you kind of clean up the grounds and the playground and the play area and things.
We do that in the spring. We have done that, and we also have been fortunate to have in the fall part of the cleanup. And I know United Way helped us one year in Conville, the Day of Caring, and that too was another. So yeah, I mean, pitching in and volunteering. There's always things to do at the center. So
it's funny because my husband and I volunteer, and I always know he's the handyman. So he's always mending fences and.
Would you like to volunteer?
I know. So that's why
I love that.
I'm mentioning it, because I think for folks, if you cannot give financially, certainly your value as a volunteer is just exponential. You know, whether it's reading,
Yep.
repairing things around the center, perhaps painting. There's just lots of things that are always needed.
There sure is, yeah.
You know, children are hard on things, and
Yes,
any
they
parent
are.
knows that. So, what about donations of clothes and things? I know spring is coming, so maybe we don't have the need in terms of boots, mittens, and coats and things, but you probably still need boots, you know, and I'm not sure how muddy it gets out there. But, you know, changes of clothes. I remember that was important. We always donated my daughter's clothes at the end of, as she outgrew them, because the kids would go out and play, and they didn't inevitably tear something or get dirty, and they needed the extra clothes.
Well, we've discovered that, yes, if we get donations, sometimes we keep it throughout the center, different pieces, just so classrooms have it, but we've also see a need to put, you know, donations out for parents, because especially with parents of young children, you know, some parents can't afford to go out and buy, you know, clothes for different events or different changes of seasons or whatever. So, yeah, we try to have a donation table usually once a season for people to come and be able to select different pieces so the child has something new to wear, new to them. Yeah.
And what about readers? Do you need volunteers to come and read to the children?
If
at all?
people would like to read, yes. We're very fortunate right now. We have one librarian that comes, and then we have one man that comes also, and he reads once a week. But yeah, we'd love to have, you know, people come and read and come and, you know, just tour our center and see what we're all about. We love to have visitors, you know, and if they would just like to see what we do and how we do it, we'd love to show them.
So it sounds like people can come one time, or they can come multiple times and really volunteer their time. We do have a day of caring that'll happen again in the
Yep.
fall, so people will be able to volunteer for that as well. Let's talk a little bit about the numbers of people you're serving and how it makes a difference in their lives.
Well, as I said, we serve, you know, different income levels. One of the important things, I think, is that some of the people that we serve, you know, really have, you know, have had some instances in their lives that they haven't been able to, you know, really, I don't want to say better themselves, but it's been hard for them. So that's something that we're able to help them with those pieces. So we're really fortunate to have, you know, people that that we can work with and help and support. Stability is important. So just having, you know, having a young family together in the center and knowing mom and dad can come, or the grandparent can come and just one stop, pick everybody up at the end of the day, or drop everybody off in the morning and know where they are and how that, you know, how the day is going to run, and have that good, you know, we try to make the good connection with the parent. You know, the teachers, you know, really call if there's something going on, if the, you know, child's running a fever or just seems out of sorts, and keep mom and dad, you know, in the loop there throughout the day. And so it's really important. That stability in the family is really a piece that we find, you know, is needed for a lot of families, and it takes one of the stresses off of them.
You know, it really does. And I think we oftentimes think of childcare centers as babysitting, and it goes way beyond that. It's really about nurturing the child, the family for the future. And so valuable, and we need to really pay attention to that, because we know that, you know, we don't know what the future holds for our children, but the more we can do now to strengthen them and strengthen the parents who are raising them, or grandparents who are raising them, it's just so critical to their futures.
Yes, it is.
So, Deb, once again, how would people contact you if they're interested in service or in volunteering, or just want to come and visit the center?
Well, we're located right on the Peterborough-Jaffrey border, right off of 202 on Community Lane. And we're open Monday through Friday from 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we really try and be there for people, working parents that need those times. We can be reached at 603-532-6021. And our website is www.mcelc.org. And as I said, we're on Facebook. So there's many ways to find us.
Oh, fun. So make sure you like the
Yes, like
Monanock
us on
Community Early
Facebook.
Learning
Yes,
Center.
you'll see all the fun
Yes.
activities, and you get a little peek into what's going on in the classrooms.
And get to see the children.
Yes.
And if you love children and you'd love to volunteer time, this is a great opportunity to do that. Deb, I want to thank you for being with us and sharing your world.
Oh, thank you, Kelly. This is-
With
yes.
the citizens of the Monadnock region, and just such a great and important work that you're doing out there. So much value to the future of these children, and we're just thrilled to have you here. And thrilled that we have these kinds of services throughout the Monadnock region. And one of the things I want to say to you, audience, you may not be aware, but our early child care providers are really working together across the region and really trying to strengthen each other's work. And it is so incredible to see what they're doing. I know you hold monthly meetings where you share best practices and things that you're learning, and really trying to really think about how you're impacting the young people that you're serving and doing it together. So again, what a wonderful thing. I want to thank you, audience, for joining us, and I want to remind you that you have an opportunity to give, to volunteer, to advocate for programs like Mondanock Community Early Learning Center or other child care centers here in the Monadnock region, as well as other services in the Monadnock region. Please join us again next Wednesday, and again, thank you for joining us, and have a good night.